We are going to talk about crowdlending platforms that are regulated in Europe, the type of regulation that exists for this type of crowdlending and crowdfunding platforms, and also which platforms are covered by some of these regulations or licenses. Stay until the end because I am going to tell you a lot of details and why some platforms are regulated and others are not. Before we start, I would like to invite you to the Telegram community where you can share opinions and experiences with other investors. I would also like to invite you to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss more interesting videos about investing. The first thing we should know when we talk about regulations is that there is no European regulation that regulates crowdlending platforms. There is a regulation for crowdfunding platforms, but many of the crowdlending platforms do not meet the requirements to qualify for this type of regulation. According to this regulation, only crowdfunding platforms that grant loans or participative financing to companies would have to be regulated under this regulation, the European crowdfunding license. For example, we have seen that in the last year, platforms that meet these requirements now have this European crowdfunding license. These platforms are, for example, many real estate investment platforms, for example, the Crowdpeer platform that has the license of the Bank of Lithuania and the European crowdfunding license. The way to obtain the European crowdfunding license is through the regulatory body in the country of origin, for example, Crowdpeer in Lithuania. After being regulated by the central bank in their country, they could obtain the European crowdfunding license, of course, if they meet the requirements. Other platforms that are also regulated in Lithuania are in Rento, which is also real estate investment, in this case property rental. Also, the Estate Guru platform is also regulated as a crowdfunding platform, which is also a real estate investment platform. And we also have agricultural crowdfunding platforms such as Lande and Heavy Finance. And of course, here in Spain, there are also crowdfunding platforms that are regulated by the CNMV and have the European crowdfunding license, such as Urbanitae and the Cybsland platform, among others. And here I would like to clarify something. I have already mentioned that this European crowdfunding license does not regulate platforms that finance personal loans, like most crowdlending platforms, but neither does it regulate platforms that are financing their own projects, such as Fintown or Brickstarter, since here we are financing projects of that same platform, so to speak. They are not marketplace platforms or platforms that are financing different companies. And I would also like to comment that there are other platforms such as Afranga that offers personal loans and has been regulated as a crowdfunding platform, but in this case they will have to change their operating strategy and we will no longer be financing personal loans through this platform, but once it starts to operate as a regulated European crowdfunding platform, we will be financing loans to companies. Usually these will be loans to the company, to the loan originator that later will issue the personal loans. On the other hand, there are other types of regulations to which some crowdlending platforms have adhered, but not all regulations are the same because they depend on each of the countries. I want to clarify again that it is not a specific regulation for crowdlending. Here, for example, we have seen that platforms in Latvia have been covered by the investment broker regulation, and that is why they have had to change the way they operate. And right now, the platforms in which we invest in Latvia that are regulated, we do not invest directly in loans, but we invest in financial instruments that the platforms normally call ABS, asset-backed securities or notes. These are financial instruments that encompass different loans, and these financial instruments are supervised and regulated by the regulatory body in their country, in Latvia. This type of license also implies that the accounts of the investors and the platform must be in separate accounts. This means that the operating money of the platform, which is in one account, is not mixed with the money that goes into each of the investors' accounts. They must be in segregated accounts, and also the accounts that are regulated in Latvia have a guarantee fund of 20,000 euros, but this is for the money that we have in the platform without investing. The investments are not guaranteed. This must be taken into account. A platform that is regulated in Latvia is Mintos, which is a marketplace platform that offers us to invest in many different loan originators. And also today on this platform we can invest not only in crowdlending, but we will also be able to invest in bonds, in property rental, and all this we will invest through financial instruments. Besides, all is regulated and supervised by the regulatory organism in Latvia. Other platforms that are also veterans in the investment market in crowdlending are Via Invest and Twino. These two platforms are also regulated in Latvia, and these platforms offer us the possibility to invest in personal loans. We also have Debitum, which has also been in the market for years, and this is a marketplace where we can invest in business loans, and we will be also investing through ABS or notes. Both are financial instruments. Then we have two new platforms in the marketplace that are regulated in Latvia. One of them is Indemo, which offers us to invest in discounted debt, and here all the investment opportunities that we are going to find to invest are in Spain. That is where they are specialized. And there is also a new platform in the P2P market that is regulated in Latvia, which is called Nectaro, and it offers us traditional crowdlending, investments in personal loans. There are as well some other regulated platforms in other countries. At the end of the day, every platform that is registered in a given country complies with the regulations that exist in that country. And in most countries, there is no regulation for this type of platform or for this type of business, but they comply with the existing regulation that is closer to their business model. An example of a platform that is regulated in another country is Maclear, which is regulated in Switzerland, and there the type of regulation it complies with is a regulation that is very focused on money laundering rather than in any type of investor protection, but it complies with the regulations and is supervised as a company in Switzerland. Something we must keep in mind when investing in regulated or unregulated platforms is that a regulated platform does not mean that our investment is risk-free. Our investment will have more or less risk and may be a better or worse investment depending on the type of investment itself, not so much the platform, which in many cases are mere intermediaries. Of course, what we are ensuring and the guarantees that a platform is regulated offers us is that the platform is legitimate and thus we avoid the risk of the platform itself. The risk that the platform was a scam. Here we are talking that since it is regulated, it is a platform that complies with the regulations and that complies with certain supervision depending on the country of regulation with which they comply, and that it has more or less protection for the investor, but still the investment itself, even though could be some protection for investors, the investment itself is something different, and the risk that the investment itself has depends on what we are investing, not so much the platform. Here I would like to give an example. We have seen platforms that are regulated, as for example Mintos, where there are loan originators that have not complied with the buyback guarantee and have outstanding payments with investors. However, other platforms that are not regulated as Peerberry, which does not meet the requirements to be a regulated crowdfunding platform. This platform had loans in Ukraine, but due to the war there are sanctions. However, they have been returning investors' money, and this is not a regulated platform. So in summary, the fact that the platform is regulated gives us some guarantee, but not a total guarantee, and here we will be eliminating the risk of the platform being a scam, but we will still have other risks that we have in investments. If you want to know more about the risks of investing in crowdlending, I recommend you watch the video about risks. I leave you the link above and below in the description. I think it is essential that all investors know what risks we have, and here we eliminate the risk of the platform if we invest in regulated platforms, but we would still have the risk of the originator and the risk of defaults. Now, if you want to invest in any of those platforms that we have talked about in this video, or any other of the platforms that we talk about in this channel, below in the description, I will leave you the links to all the platforms in which I invest, and many of them have welcome bonuses for new investors. All the details in the description. If you like this video, give me like a thumbs up, it makes me happy and it helps the channel to grow. If you have any comments or want to ask any questions, let me know below in the comments. You know that I respond to all your comments. I also invite you to participate in the Telegram community where you can share opinions and experiences with other investors. And before you go, subscribe to the channel to not miss more interesting videos about crowdlending investments. See you very soon.